Bicker AG has decided to expand into Latin America and now needs to select 3 countries out of 7 potential candidates. Our methodology for helping Bicker AG to make the selection is based on market potential, ability to diversify macroeconomic risks, and the country's specific business and political risks. For the market potential, we rate each candidate countries based on a number of relevant factors provided by Zurich Risk Group, and this table summarizes the result. Mexico has the best potential for growth, while Argentina is expected to yield the least return. One of the key reasons for expansion outside Europe is to diversify economic risks. We rank the countries based on their ability to diversify Eurozone risks and business cycle risk. In this snapshot, this green line, Mexico, actually has the best, is best in diversifying Eurozone slowdown and the business indicator risks. Whereas Venezuela, this red line, is actually adding to the overall business cycle risks. And this summarizes the result. Mexico is the best country for diversifying both Eurozone slowdown and the business cycle risks. For political and the business risk of candidate countries, we weight each risks based on their relevance to Bicker AG's business and how easily they can be mitigated, and then we calculate the overall risk rating. This table shows the result. Our rating and Zurich's risk room matrix actually give the same ranking of the countries. In this case, Uruguay is the least risky country. Furthermore, Uruguay and Ecuador actually has the best improvements in their overall riskiness between 2007 and 2014.
The final phase involves the aggregation of all the parts of the analysis. Clearly, it is evident that Venezuela and Argentina are not good candidates and Mexico is the best among the 7 countries. Now, the remaining 4 countries carry their own merits. Colombia and Brazil have a very good market potential and are most effective among the 4 in diversifying macroeconomic and market risks. Uruguay has a low risk level and Ecuador has the best risk improvement over the years. However, we still recommend Brazil and Colombia because Bicker AG's primary objective is to achieve growth and minimize the risk arising due to factors such as Eurozone slowdown. By expanding to Latin America, Bicker AG acknowledges the higher risk level in the region. Otherwise, they might as well expand in Europe. Having said that, a risk-averse company might as well choose Uruguay. Similarly, Ecuador can be a very attractive place for future expansion if the risk level continues to improve at the current rate. This now brings us to the comparative analysis of the 3 options with regards to Bicker's current markets. First, they are least affected markets due to Eurozone crisis and also effectively diversify the risk arising due to business cycle. Secondly, the risk levels are slightly higher than the current countries and almost equal to the recent countries into which Bicker AG has made investments. However, the potential offered by the 3 countries are much higher than the current markets.
In the 3 countries, Brazil, Mexico and Colombia, the risks to which we have assigned higher weightage during our rating process have been potentially eliminated. Some of the existing risks on the surface might seem to be very high, but can potentially be mitigated. Burden of government regulation in Brazil and Colombia can be mitigated using risk sharing through setting up joint venture with local players who can navigate the local procedures. Burden of custom procedure in Brazil can be mitigated through risk reduction by localization of raw materials. This would increase the dependence on local suppliers, but this is acceptable because the risk of rising food price in Brazil is low. Organized crime and high income inequality risk in Colombia and Mexico can be mitigated through risk avoidance strategies by locating the factories and warehouses in crime-free regions. There is poor transport infrastructure in Colombia and to a certain extent in Brazil. This can be mitigated through contracting with local third-party logistics service provider. This is acceptable due to the low contract risk in Colombia.
Zurich Risk Room offers general risk profile about their countries. Bicker AG should also exercise further due diligence for deciding whether to enter a prospect country. First of all, Bicker AG needs to conduct research on the market status and profit margins in the retail industry of the prospect country. The research will allow the Big AG to know the company environment, the customer's preference, and estimate the sales and profit that can be expected from investing there in the country. Then, if the data are available, the Big AG should analyze the cost advantage and willingness to pay to address where its competitive advantage lies. This can allow the Big AG to better leverage its strengths and shape strategy. The Big AG can also research about the business model of existing players in both successful and failing cases of foreign direct investment in the prospect countries. This will allow the Big AG to understand what changes to make its current business model. This would in turn help the companies to know whether to adopt a joint venture or not, and how much localization is needed.